Welcome to the Photography Show studio, where I am honoured to be joined by Sebastiao Salgado. We have borrowed some time from you just before you take to the superstage to share some of your work with the audience here at the Photography Show. Which pieces of your work will you be showing to the audiences here today?
You see, I split in two parts the projection. The first projection is a group of pictures that resume a little bit my life of photographer till, I don't know, the beginning of the year 2000. Mm-hmm. And I have a sample of Latin America pictures, workers' book, all the work that I did in Africa, about the starvation, about refugees. And that is the first part. In the second part, I will be showing especially a group of pictures about the last project that I photographed, Genesis.
Mm. You never trained as a photographer, you studied as an economist, and the first part of your working life was as an economist. And then you received a camera in your mid-20s, I understand, and it seems to me that very quickly you were inundated by the power of the image and the power of the camera and the photograph. How do you describe what happened after you received your first camera?
You see, when I look for the first time through a viewfinder of a camera was 1970. My wife was doing studies of architecture in the University of Paris, and she bought a camera, and I look for the first time. And from this moment, photography made an invasion in my life. It was possible to me to see, materialize what I was looking with my eyes in this cross-section of the reality that became a photography. It was possible to me to resume so many things of my life. And from this moment, I get a small dark room. I start to photograph, to develop my films, to print. And I knew that photography will be my life. And but I took few years. I was in Paris preparing PhD in economics. I finished this. I came here to England, to London, to work in an international organization as an economist. And in 1973, I take a decision to put everything beside, and I start my life of photography.
You must have had supreme confidence that this was the direction that you wanted to go in, the impact that the image had on you, to put the career, your career as an economist, and clearly you've been very successful in that and travelled the world, but you knew that photography was, that you had something that you needed to tell, something that you needed to share.
I had not confidence at all.
Okay.
No. For me, it was adventure. And I take longer to take this decision. I remember with my wife, we hired a small boat in the Serpentine Lake in the Hyde Park. We sit there for hours, take a decision. We go, we don't go. I had a proposition to go to Washington to work in the World Bank. As for a young economist, it was a fabulous proposition. And in the end, we take a decision. Yes, I'll be a photographer. And we went back to Paris, and I started my photography life. And for many years, I had doubt if I was really a photographer or not. Till the moment that photography really take over, but it take many years of the beginning of my life of photographers to be sure for myself that I were a photographer. No, the doubt was for many years.
You don't doubt it anymore, though. You made the right decision, clearly.
Well, I believe so. Today looking, I believe that I had a huge chance in my life to be a photographer, to have the opportunity with the photography to link my life in the wave of the history, the historical moment that I live, to be present in the most important events in that happiness, work for magazines, doing many different stories around the world. And it's really a privilege. And I believe now, looking back, that I made the good decision.
I'm sure a lot of young photographers come to hear you speak at events like this, and today it is Students' Day at the Photography Show. Given that you didn't train in photography and like you say, you were inundated by the power of the image, when a young photographer comes to you and says, you know, Sebastiao, I want to work as a journalist, I want to work as a documentarian with the image, what sort of advice would you give to them where we are in today's context compared to where you were starting 40 years ago?
Yeah. But being clear, as you said, only for the photographers that want to do documentary photography, that
Yes.
want to do reportage. Because today photography has many different departments.
Yes.
No? And same, most of photography in reality is not real photography. It's plastic arts that are represented in a support paper of photography that becomes a photography. But photography, how I understand and I did my life, has a part of freedom, where you go to one event, you live with it, you participate with your heritage, with your culture, with your ideology, with your ethic. You capture a picture, and in this fraction of second, that's for this kind of photography. If I must advise young people, I tell them first to be sure that really they want to do photography. They are real photographers. And what I ask them to do is no, stop. Go to the university and do some studies in geopolitics, in sociology, in anthropology, in geography, in economy, in order to understand the planet that they live on it, in order that his picture has a sense in the moment that they realize it then. And from there, I believe there is no more problem. You are part of the movement of our society, because this kind of photography is a kind of mirror of the society that we live. And we must be apt to understand our society, to capture the image.
It's what you bring, your background from where you were born in Brazil to you travelling the world and seeing some sites that clearly concerned you. This was your background, that this was your history, this was your training. Even before you, like we say, before you picked up the camera, that was what you bring to these images.
Absolutely, I had this big chance that I made my studies in economy, and the economy studies that I made was not microeconomy, was macroeconomy, was public finance. You see what we call at that time political economy, and that gave you an incredible preparation in sociology and history and geopolitics that place you in a sense that you can look the movement of a society. And I had this big chance. I had a big chance to born in an underdeveloped country that when I was a child was urbanizing.
Yes.
What you put here 400, 500 years to become a urban country in England, in Brazil we put 50 years. And I was part of this movement, migrated from the fields to the towns. I saw all the social strong movements happening. And I came from this kind of school life. And that gave me a big chance to give me these tools that was possible to me to place myself inside the society that I live.
And the images of your farm where you grew up, when you lived there, and then when you came back, and then when you planted 2.1 million trees or something like that, that illustrates the amount of change that you witnessed in Brazil, in your home in that time.
It's true. When we were a child, I grew in this farm. We have more than 60-70% of rainforest there. And we live within a farm. We have a lot of wild animals, wildlife around. I grow in a kind of paradise. And when we received this land back of my parents, in the middle of the 90s, this farm was completely ecologically destroyed. We had no more the forest. But not only the farm of my parents, all the region, like England. To build this modern society, we destroy all the environment. To build the farms, to build the cities, to build the industries, and to build the roads. In Brazil was the same. And we get this farm, with my wife, we take a decision to transform this in a national park. And we replant now, we are about 2.5 million trees planted in the ground, and we built an ecosystem that looked much more like the one that was destroyed. And for us was huge pleasure, huge teaching, and for some, my project Genesis that will be shown here today, born inside of this project. When I was seeing grow these trees, coming back all the mammals, all the birds, the fish, coming back the water. And I had a huge wish to go to the planet and photograph what was pristine in the planet. And that born the concept of the Genesis project.
It's been an absolute privilege to talk to you today.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much indeed for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you
Sebastiao
very much.
Salgado.
Thank you. Thank you.